Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Resideo webinar session on RedLINK troubleshooting and errors. My name is Carla Lopez, and I'm part of the Resideo training team. And on behalf of all of us, I'd like to welcome you to our training session today. Before we get started with our technical presentation, I'm going to cover just a few administrative items. Information on our webinar sessions are posted at our website at www.resideo.com/webinars. You can find upcoming webinars by searching under the Discipline tab and looking at either the title HVAC or Plumbing on the left-hand side of the search bar. You can also find recorded sessions on the same website by selecting On Demand on the right-hand side of these filters as well. And then for our contractors joining us for today's live session, if you're interested in earning one NATE continuing education credit, there are a few things to note. If you provided your NATE ID on your registration form, we will submit those details to NATE for your attendance of today's live session, and we won't need any additional information from you at this time. If you did not provide us with your NATE ID on that registration form for this webinar and you'd like to receive credit for attending our live session, we do ask that you email your first name, last name, your NATE ID number, and the date of the session you attended to homes.university@resideo.com within 1 week from today. This information is submitted to NATE 1 week following the close of each live session. Any requests sent outside of 1 week from our live training sessions cannot be processed. And as a reminder, we can only process requests for NATE credits when you attend the live webinar sessions. And we are unable to process requests for watching a recorded version of our training sessions. If you'd like more information about the NATE program, please visit their website at www.natex.org. And then one quick note before we begin the technical overview, all attendees are muted. However, if at any point during the presentation you'd like to ask a question, please go ahead and use the Q&A feature that's found in your Zoom webinar control. We're reserving the last few minutes of our time together today to answer any questions that you might have. So as we progress through this technical overview, make sure to ask those questions in that Q&A feature so that we can address it at the end of our time together today. So now we're going to turn over the presentation to Rafael Parada, who is one of our experts in RedLINK products. So Rafa, thank you so much for being with us today. Take it away.
Thank you, Carla, and thank you all for attending this webinar. So today we are going to review most of the common calls that we receive on the Pro Call Center and the Homeowners Call Center, talking about RedLINK. And we are going to make a brief description of RedLINK, some of the key benefits, of course, the troubleshooting questions we receive on the call center, some of the most common errors and the list of errors we have with the devices, and well, as Carla mentioned, we will have a question and answer time for that. So RedLINK, sorry. So RedLINK, as you know, is a proprietary wireless network protocol developed by Honeywell, now owned by Resideo, and this specifically signal for the HVAC industry. So what does it mean? That it's not going to interfere with any other radio frequency signals. And this evolved from the Honeywell's proven wireless security system. We add some security levels to ensure all the communications are going to achieve the host or the devices that are communicating between each other. It will offer no interference with other wireless devices or neighboring. So if my neighbor does have a RedLINK device, my RedLINK device will not interfere with his system. We have safeguards and unsurpassed round-the-clock reliability because we use a spectrum of frequencies to work, so ensuring all the messages are going to be delivered. And well, it's going to be really easy to install and use. Talking about the key benefits we have with RedLINK, well, application flexibility. It is going to be compatible with residential or light commercial applications. it is great for retrofit installation. So when we are having a thermostat upgrade and we are upgrading the system as well, if we are missing wires with the wireless technology, we are going to be able to avoid running new set of wires and actually communicate and control our system from the thermostat. It's compatible with a lot of different systems. Actually, we can control dual fuel and auxiliary heat lockouts depending on the model number of the thermostat we are using. Really easy to install. We have flexible power. It could be either hardwire or battery power, depending on the model number. And well, it's an anywhere location. The only restriction to apply is this frequency that we are inside of the RedLINK neighbor, so we can actually communicate between the host and the thermostat. Really easy to use. We have large, modern, easy to see displays. Sometimes we have actually touchscreen displays depending on the model number, and we can remote control the thermostat from a portable comfort control, or we can actually connect it to the internet and control it from our cell phone. And of course, we can make the thermostat to be programmable or non-programmable. And definitely is going to support your business. We are working with Resideo quality devices, the top quality on the manufactured materials, the design, and all the algorithms that actually makes a Resideo thermostat to be a Resideo thermostat. And we have up to 5-year warranty, depending on the model number of the devices and the thermostats we are working with. So let's move on. Sorry. Let's move on to the common calls we receive on the call centers, in the pro and the homeowners call centers. So the first one, the most common one, will be if the thermostat will hold the set point temperature, the schedule, and the ISU settings whenever there is a power outage for long periods of time. And the answer is yes. The thermostat, they do have an electronical, erasable, programmable read-only memory that will store all this information with no time to lose the information. So we don't need any battery backup. All this information is going to be safe and stored on the EEPROM memory. Another common question we receive, if there's any other brand that is not Resideo Honeywell thermostat, can connect with Resideo Honeywell RedLINK products. And the answer is that RedLINK, well, is a patented proprietary technology, and there is no other company other than Resideo Honeywell, Goodman, and Mitsubishi that offer any products that are RedLINK compatible. In the case of Goodman and Mitsubishi, actually, we manufacture thermostats for them, and that is how they have access to this technology. So these Goodman and Mitsubishi thermostats, they will use the RedLINK technology and are going to be compatible with the Resideo Honeywell thermostats as well. The next question will be, what is the frequency that RedLINK used to communicate on? And the frequency is going to be from 902 to 928 megahertz. This is the jumping frequency. Remember that we jump into the bands to reduce the interference with another radio frequency devices. And this is certified by the Federal Communication Commission on the part 15.247. Another really common question, what is the maximum RedLINK signal distance? And well, we have tested our devices inside a home to be estimated into 6,500 square feet. And when we tested on a straight line of sight, we have up to 2,400 feet. Remember, the materials, the concrete, the steel, and other properties may affect the wireless communication distance. Sorry. What is the minimum distance between RedLINK devices? Here we need to consider that only the devices that communicate with each other, they need to be at least 2-foot minimum distance. If we have two thermostats that they do not communicate with each other, they could be as close as possible. This is pretty common on light commercial applications where they have multiple thermostats in a single wall. So there's no minimum distance for those thermostats that they do not communicate with each other. Another one is, what is the maximum wire distance between the equipment interface module and the HVAC equipment? So remember, the equipment interface module is going to be where all the wiring is going to happen. We're going to connect the system into the equipment interface module. So the maximum distance whenever we use an 18 gauge wire, it's going to be 200 feet. Another really common question is what is the schedule or temperature that the thermostat will follow if it doesn't know the time and date? We need to remember customers, they like to schedule their thermostat so they can follow different temperature settings on a specific time periods. And the situation here is if the thermostat by any reason lose that time and date, what is going to be the set point temperature that is going to work on? So the thermostat will move to Monday wake period, and it will be there until the time and date is set back again into the thermostat. Another common questions we receive, what is the maximum number of wireless thermostats used with the ERM 5000, that is the portable control, or the C7089R, that is the outdoor sensor? So for the portable control, the maximum thermostats we can enroll to the portable control is going to be up to 16 thermostats. So we can control 16 thermostats using only one portable control. And for the outdoor sensor, we can enroll up to 4 thermostats. We recommend to enroll up to 4 thermostats to the outdoor sensor. And talking about the indoor wireless sensor, these sensors can be used on the Prestige 2.0 or the Prestige 3.0 and the Vision Pro, of course. Well, the maximum indoor sensors that we recommend to enroll to a thermostat is up to 6 indoor wireless sensors. What is going to happen if the RedLINK thermostat cannot see the outdoor sensor? This is a pretty common question, actually, and it depends on how the thermostat is configured. So the first case scenario, if we have a heat pump system with electric backup heat, the thermostat will work normally. It will run the heat pump as a primary heat, and it will use electric strips as a backup heat. What is going to happen is that we are not going to have the outdoor lockout. So we need to take in consideration that. And it will follow the drop off stage configurations that we have on the ISUs, the installer setup options. So that is what is going to happen whenever we have a heat pump with electric backup heat. But if we have a heat pump with fossil fuel backup, we have gas or oil furnaces as a backup, the thermostat is going to run only the backup heat in order to prevent damaging the heat pump. So these are the 2 case scenarios, talking about the outdoor sensor is not communicating with the thermostat. So talking about this, if the thermostat is actually losing the communication with the equipment interface module, will the equipment interface module have a backup control? And if it does, when does it occur? And what are the heat cool set points? These are pretty common questions we receive. And so what is going to happen is, yes, if the thermostat loses communication with the EIM can take control of the heating and cooling set points and run the system. But we will need to have installed either the C7735A1000, that is the discharge air temperature sensor, or the C7189U1005, that is the indoor wireless sensor, into the EIM. And what is going to happen 30 minutes after the module lost communication with the thermostat, it will turn the blower fan continuously to sense the temperature in the return air duct. And based on that, based on the temperature that we have on the air, it will decide to run either the heat or the cool, and the set points for heating is going to be 62, and for cooling is going to be 82 Fahrenheit degrees. If the EIM by the thermostat was configured for electric heat pump with an electric backup heat, the EIM is going to run the heat pump as the first stage of heat, and if necessary, we'll call for the backup heat to actually accomplish with the temperature setting. If we have a fossil fuel backup heat, what is going to happen is that the EIM is going to run only the backup heat, only the gas or the oil furnaces, if we don't have a fossil fuel kit. And if we do have a fossil fuel kit installed on the system, so the fossil fuel kit is going to take control to run either the heat pump or the gas or the oil furnaces. And these will actually be there until the thermostat resumes communication with the EIM, and then the thermostat returns to have the control of the system. Can the thermostat take over control from the portable control, comfort control, sorry? The answer is yes. We have different cases and scenarios. For example, after 2 hours of the continuous equipment runtime, the indoor temperature from the portable control is more than 10 degrees away from the set point, and the indoor temperature of the thermostat has satisfied the set point. So this means that probably the remote control is either covered by some blankets or is in a location where the temperature is not the accurate one. So the thermostat will regain control in this case scenario. Anytime after 2 hours from we select from this device on the portable control was initiated, the indoor temperature of the thermostat is more than 50 degrees above or below the set point. So if we have on the thermostat the set point to be different on 50 degrees, thermostat will regain control. If we have the system set for heating and the indoor temperature of the thermostat or the remote is above 100 degrees or below 37 degrees, thermostat will regain control. And for the cooling mode, whenever the indoor temperature is above 102 Fahrenheit degrees or below 45 Fahrenheit degrees, once again, thermostat regains control. Also, if the thermostat lose communication with the portable control, the thermostat will regain control after 12 to 24 minutes that we have this communication lost. And finally, whenever there's a power outage, remember that the portable control runs under batteries. So whenever we have a power outage and the system lose power for 2 or more hours, once that the power resumes back, thermostat will regain control to achieve the set point temperatures. And once that we serve those set point temperatures, then the remote will take control again. Another pretty common call that we receive is if if the THM 4000R can be used with the EIM. So we're talking about the wireless adapter, the THM 4000R, and the equipment interface module. And the answer is yes, we can use the wireless adapter on the equipment interface module whenever it is not zone application. And it will need to be used an extended antenna. Actually, that is what we are doing here. If the EIM is really far away from the thermostat, probably the RedLINK signal is not going to be sufficient for the thermostat. So we can use the THM 4000R as an extended antenna. With this, another common question that we have is what are the voltage on the A, B, C, D connectors on the THM 4000R? And the voltage is going to be measured between A and D. It's important to know. And it should be between 5.5 to 12 volts on direct current. And the B is going to be the transmit terminal, and the C is going to be the receiving terminal. So those two are communication terminals, and the power is going to be between A and D. This is important to know as well. The maximum distance of the wire that we should use to connect the EIM to the THM 4000R is we recommend to have 50 feet whenever we are using the 18-gauge wire, or we can also use a cat wire, and we have tested at 100 feet with the cat wire or the 18-gauge wire. However, the best recommendation is the 50 feet, even that 100 feet actually works properly, but we don't want to exceed the capabilities of the devices. A really common question that we have from contractors and homeowners: how do I unenroll a RedLINK device from the RedLINK network? Or how do I purge the device, actually? So it depends on what is the model number that we're working with and what is going to be the different processes. So if we're talking about the Focus Pro 5000 and 6000 family, what we need to do is to press and hold the fan and the up arrow buttons for 3 seconds. We are accessing the IS using here. And then we need to move to the function 39, that is the wireless setup, and change it from 1 to 0. That will actually disconnect the thermostat from the RedLINK network. On the EIM, on the THM 5320R, we need to press and hold the connect button. We will see the light will flash. So we continue pressing the connect button until the light goes blank. And that is how we unroll everything from the equipment interface module. Whatever that was connected to this host is going to be unrolled, and that is how we purge the EIM. If we're talking about the Prestige thermostats, we are going to press the menu button, scroll down to the installer options. We will need to enter the security code, that is actually the date code. And then we select wireless device manager. And then when we are going to select remove device, and we are removing the thermostat from the RedLINK network. For the portable control, on the portable control, we will need to press and hold the blank space in the lower right corner of the screen. This is a hidden button. It could be that we may have an arrow, depending on the configuration of the remote control. But if we don't have the arrow, we have a blank space, and that is where we need to press and hold for about 3 seconds. So the screen will change, and it will let us know if we want to remove the device that we were connected to. So we will need to press remove, and then the remote asks us if we are sure about that. So we press yes, and that is how we remove the remote control from the RedLINK network. Talking about the zoning panels, from the zoning panels, we need to go to the home screen and press the mode button 3 times, and the display should show wireless devices. Now we can use the arrow button below the display to select view. Then we can use the arrow button to select remove the device that we want to remove, and it will double check if we are sure that we want to remove that device. And so we are going to press yes, and that is how we are unrolling one of the EIMs or the thermostat connected to the zoning panel. And then for the outdoor sensor, the way to purge it or to unroll it from all the connections the outdoor sensor may have is to press and hold the enroll unenroll button on the back of the sensor for 30 seconds or a little bit longer, and that will actually purge the sensor out from the RedLINK connection. Another common question we receive on the call center: will the adaptive intelligent recovery override the 2-troop and upstate timer? And the answer is yes. Remember, the adaptive intelligent recovery is meant to actually turn the system on or off to achieve the set point temperature at the set time. So what is going to happen is that the thermostat is not going to respect the 2-troop or the offset timer in order to achieve the set point temperature whenever the customer set a time for. So we have the algorithm working here, and the algorithm will calculate how early or how late needs to turn on or off the systems to achieve this set point temperature. Another pretty common question: how many thermostats can be used with the THM 6000R 1003 RedLINK Internet Gateway? The answer to this one is not based on the thermostat actually, but on the host. So the RedLINK Internet Gateway, you can connect up to 4 hosts. An example of this, we can talk about the eConnect RedLINK line voltage thermostat. We can connect up to 8 EIMs to a single thermostat. So we can control up to 8 baseboards into a single thermostat. And then we can connect 4 thermostats to the RedLINK Internet Gateway. So at the end of the day, we are actually controlling 32 systems with a single RedLINK Internet Gateway, if the application requires, of course. Another pretty common question talking about the rig is if it can be used on a static IP, especially when we are talking about a light commercial application. And the answer is no. The RedLINK Internet Gateway can be only used on a dynamic host control protocol. That is the most common protocol that we have on residential applications. And actually, this is true for all the connected Honeywell Resideo devices, actually, not only for the RedLINKs, but for the Wi-Fi and the Honeywell Home connected devices as well. We want to use a dynamic host control protocol. A really common question as well: if I have an outdoor sensor and I have an internet connection, which outdoor temperature is going to be displayed on the Total Connect Comfort app and on the RedLINK thermostat. So if I have the outdoor sensor, the outdoor temperature that is going to be displayed is going to be the one from the outdoor sensor. If we lose the outdoor sensor communication or there's no outdoor sensor, the one that is going to be displayed in both in the thermostat and also on the app is going to be the one that is provided by AccuWeather based on the zip code provided on the customer account. Really common question, especially from contractors. RedLINK devices, are they compatible with normally open zone valves or Series 20 zone valves when talking about the hot water system? The answer is yes. This is going to be only for Vision Pro, the 8000 family, and the Prestige, the 9000 family. So the Focus Pro 5000 and 6000 are not compatible with this application. But for the ones that they are, what we need to do is to configure the thermostat for radiant heat. We are going to select on the heating stages to have only one stage and no stages for cooling. And this is how we configure the thermostat for Series 20. So we can wire up with the R and the W and the Y wires. And remember, we need to remain the jumper between R and RC. And if we are working with a normally open zone valve, we're going to configure the same, but we're going to connect only the R and the Y wires. We have only two wires. And remember, the jumper between R and RC is a must. And another common question that we have a lot from contractors. When I set up the thermostat for a geothermal with radiant first stage, what stages when set to emergency heat? So I have a heat pump or a geothermal heat pump, and I'm running my hot water system as the first stage. What happens when I switch to emergency heat? Will the hot water run? And the answer is no. It will only run the backup heat that is configured. It could be either electric, gas, or oil furnaces. So whenever I set for emergency, those ones are the ones that are going to run. The backup ones, not the hot water that was set for first stage. So those were some of the most common calls we receive on the call center, talking about troubleshooting. Some other calls that we receive is talking about the errors displayed on the thermostats. And well, this is the complete list of the different errors that we can find on the Focus Pro, on the 5000 and 6000 RedLINK thermostats. And the most common calls we receive about these errors is, for example, the number 29, that you are attempting to connect a thermostat to an incompatible device. So remember 5000 and 6000, whenever you're using the THM5320R EIM, is not going to be compatible with indoor wireless sensor. So probably we are trying to connect an indoor wireless sensor, and that is why we are receiving this error that is not compatible. Another pretty common error call that we receive, the number 30, zone number must match the zone panel number. This is pretty common from homeowners when they try to connect their thermostats. They select zone number like 1 or 2, but they don't have actually a zoning system, or they don't have a zoning panel. So whenever this happens, and we are using only the EIM, we should set the zoning, the zone number as 0. And if we do have a zoning panel, we need to select that zone number that is assigned on the zone panel actually. So pretty common call, that one. The 34, number 34 is another common call that we receive, that we have a low signal strength. And well, we recommend to move the wireless device to a different location and try again. Or here is where we can actually know that when we are pretending to install the thermostat, we don't have a good signal. So we can decide to use a wireless adapter to extend the signal from the EIM to the thermostat. So this is really good. This is something that helps a lot when you are installing the thermostat, that it will let you know how good the signal strength is. And so you can decide the best option for the thermostat location. And finally, the number 53, thermostat is not receiving an outdoor temperature and outdoor humidity. So we have two cases scenarios here. The thermostat was configured for a dual fuel system, or we have compressor and auxiliary lockouts, and there's no outdoor sensor. So we are actually telling the thermostat that we require the outdoor temperature, but there's no outdoor sensor. The AccuWeather temperature is not going to work with RedLINK. For RedLINK, we must have an outdoor temperature. So either we need to change the IUU setting for the correct system type, and if this is the correct system type, if it is a heat pump with fossil fuel backup, definitely we need to add an outdoor sensor. If we actually added the outdoor sensor and the E53 continues, probably the sensor is not communicating. So what we need to do is to install 2 fresh AA lithium batteries in the outdoor sensor and give it a try again. Try to connect the sensor to the thermostat, actually to the EIM. And if that doesn't work, probably what means is that we need to replace the outdoor sensor. Talking about the Vision Pro RedLINK thermostat errors, well, we have the entire list here as well. So the most common ones are going to be the ones related to reminders, filter reminders, humidifier reminders, UV lamp reminders. This is only a reminder customer configure or contractor configure to allow the customer to know when to replace all of this. And they only need to press the reset button, and definitely if they need to change the filter, they will need to change the filter, right? Whenever we have a heat pump failure, the heat pump failure means that we have the L wire connected to the L terminal. And this is when the heat pump does have a heat pump monitor that is sending the signal for the heat pump to be serviced, to provide maintenance, or that actually encounter an error. So these will recommend the customers to contact the contractors to provide service to the heat pump. The battery error is a pretty common one. We do have on the Vision Pro a coin cell battery, the CR2032, and this battery is actually there to maintain the clock running. So whenever the battery dies and we don't have the AA batteries for backup, whenever there is a power outage, the time and the date will be deleted from the thermostat. Actually, we will need to reconfigure them. So when we have this error, what we need to do is actually to replace the coin cell battery with a new one. Another pretty common one is talking about the thermostat sensor failure. This means the thermostat have encountered an error with the thermistor, and before thinking on replacement thermostat for contractors, I will suggest you to make a factory reset. And after the factory reset, if we get the alert again, the thermostat sensor failure again, that means that definitely we need to replace the thermostat. That thermostat doesn't work anymore. And if we don't get the alert again, that means that the problem is solved and the thermostat can continue working properly. We have also alerts talking about the outdoor sensor, the OAS. So we have the one that there's a sensor failure, talking about the thermistor of the outdoor sensor, actually, is letting us know that that sensor element, that sensing element is no longer working. My recommendation is to try a brand new set of AA lithium batteries, purge the sensor and try to connect again. And if we encounter this error again, definitely we will need to replace the outdoor sensor. Well, the battery sensor error, we need to replace the batteries, really easy to solve. And the communication error is that the thermostat lost communication with the outdoor sensor. So that means that sensor was working properly. There was no alert about the battery running low, and suddenly it lost communication. So we need to check if the outdoor sensor is still on location. There have been some cases that actually the outdoor sensor disappears, and they will need to purchase another one, actually. And if the sensor is in place, well, we will need to replace the lithium batteries. And if the problem persists, that means that they need to replace the sensor. Some other common calls is talking about humidification. When we are running a humidifier with the RedLINK thermostats, the TH8321R RedLINK thermostat is actually compatible with humidification control. So we receive calls about communication errors whenever the humidifier is connected to the wireless adapter and there's a communication error. We need to review that everything is properly wired and configured. The humidifier will send a signal that is required as service for the humidifier, or that we have an issue with the water tank and we need to actually check what is happening with the water tank. So this is pretty good for customers to know what is happening with their humidifier. Also, we have all the on-enroll alerts. Whenever we on-enroll an outdoor sensor or a humidifier, or even the portable control, we will have these alerts in here that let us know what is happening. And pretty much the troubleshooting is to make the enrolling again for these devices, either for the portable control or the outdoor sensor, or if the application actually requires an outdoor sensor to be enrolled, whenever we're talking about a heat pump with fossil fuel backup, or we do have compressor and auxiliary lockouts. Also, whenever the humidifier on enrolls, it will let us know. When we have a duplicate error, that means that an authorized wireless device is trying to communicate with a wireless network. This is pretty difficult to happen, but this is when when the customer is trying to connect another RedLINK to the network of the thermostat, but it's not only with this network. For example, they are trying to connect a Prestige thermostat with the Vision Pro thermostat. That is not going to happen. It's not compatible. So what we recommend to do here is to make the connections in an individual way, to connect first the Prestige to the EIM that it belongs, and then connect the Vision Pro to the EIM that it belongs. If this was a new installation, well, we recommend to actually purge all the devices and connect one by one. The memory error is a pretty common one that we receive also, especially with old thermostats. They may encounter a memory error on the EEPROM memory, and this is probably after a lot of years of use. So their first recommendation is to perform a factory reset on the thermostat. And if we don't have the memory error display again, that means that it's clear. If we do have the memory error, well, that means that we will need to replace the thermostat. The EEPROM memory is no longer working. And finally, well, the unknown time, whenever there is no coin cell battery and we have a power outage and there's no AA batteries, we will have this unknown time. So remember, thermostat will continue running with the Monday wake up settings. And once that we set the time and date again on the thermostat will regain control. So remember, you can always give us a call on the Pro Comfort Technical Support. We have 2 locations for the North America. We have one location on Golden Valley, Minnesota, and we have another location for San Luis Potosí, Mexico. So you can give us a call whenever you have a question, or your homeowners, your customers have a question. You can also visit us at customer.resideo.com. And the phone number for the Pro Technical Support is the 1-800-633-3991. And for the homeowner support, you can provide this to your customers, is the 1-800-468-1502. And well, we have now the time for question and answer session.
Thank you, Rafa, for walking us through these troubleshooting steps. We do have a couple of questions here. And the first one is, the fact that the thermostat overrided droop and upstage timer is causing some trouble to some of our customers because the auxiliary heating will not come on and the temperature will continue to drop without the auxiliary heating coming up before many hours. So since the upstage timer is an option, we choose this should not be overridden, so the customer can count on his thermostat to reach a comfortable temperature within the limit we decide with the upstage timer function. So many complaints with the very cold weather lately up in North Quebec, where we use a heat pump everywhere. The Prestige has a hold off timer, but not the other models. So what can we do when the normal heating ramp is not enough to keep the house comfortable as scheduled?
Okay, pretty good question. So remember, this droop stage and the upstairs timer is overridden whenever you are using the adaptive energy recovery. So what we can do, what I can recommend you to do is to not use the adaptive energy recovery. What is going to happen? The thermostat is going to start the system at the time that you set on your schedule. And well, this means that the thermostat will take uh, some time to actually achieve the temperature that it was set for, but it will respect the droop and the upstate timer. So we can recommend the homeowners to change the time on the schedule. If they want to have, for example, 70 degrees at 7 a.m., they should set the schedule probably at 6 a.m. for 70 degrees. So the thermostat starts the system at 6 a.m. and then the heat ramp starts without any override on the droop stage or the upstate timer.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rafa, for providing a great training today. Okay, and remember, you can access this online training catalog by visiting the training page on our Resideo Pro website. The first time you access the online training catalog, you'll be asked to create an account, and then going forward, you'll log into your training account to access these trainings. Currently, we've got about 20 online learning modules available, including several modules on our humidification portfolio, the T10 thermostat, and Prestige IEQ thermostat. These online trainings cover everything from technical and installation details, and we also show you how to identify the right customer to sell these products to as well. And if you're interested in more in-depth trainings, we encourage you to sign up for a Resideo Pro Portal account to access these trainings. Also, if you're already a Resideo Pro Perks member, you will receive training credit when you enroll in these online training courses as well. To find out more information about our upcoming session, please visit www.resideo.com/webinars. And if you search by the HVAC or plumbing tabs, you'll find the details of our upcoming sessions. Additionally, we record each of these sessions, and you can find those recordings on the same website by filtering for webinars with the label on demand. One last reminder to those contractors who did not include your NATE ID on your registration form and you'd like credit for today's session, please send an email with your first name, last name, your NATE ID number, and the date of the session you attended to homes.university@resideo.com within 1 week of today's live webinar to receive credit for attending this live training. Two final things to note before we close out today. Once our training session ends, you will be prompted to complete a survey regarding our webinar session. Please take a few minutes to provide us with your feedback on today's session. We're very interested in it, but also we use that feedback to help us create future topics, and we love to be able to create some training content for you there. So if you have any suggestions or questions on, please let us know in that feedback survey. And finally, you will receive an email from us in just a few days that includes some follow-up information on the products that we reviewed today, as well as a link to the website for more information on our trainings as well. So make sure you join us this week on Thursday, January 20th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time for our next training session on ducted dehumidifiers installation. Thank you all for joining us for today's Resideo webinar session. Have a great day.